All right. Well, I want to cover the Golden State Warriors Oklahoma City Thunder game from last night. I know there's a ton of other stories that I should be talking about instead of these sports ones, but all these sports ones eventually seem to be coded to some other event. And also, if you can get people to see that the sports leagues are rigged, I mean, there's so many people who live their whole life. They go to work, come home, watch sports. I used to be one of them. You know, if you can get them to see that their sports are rigged and coded, maybe, just maybe, they will go and read other articles like this and start to understand how almost everything we do, if not everything, is coded to this. So, I mean, even like this article really sticks out. This lady supposedly dying after her first day. I don't know how many times I've talked about Prince Charles becoming the new king and then possibly dying really fast, and then Prince William would become the new king. So this lady, literally, whatever, I'm not even going to do any Gematria or talk about it, but it's just interesting that she dies in Prince William County. I mean, and then she dies one day after becoming a police officer and whatnot. But anyway, let's go back to this game. One of the most rigged games I've seen in a while. So before I even get into the game, I want to talk about, I made a blog post before the game even began last night. And I talked a lot about how it was the 58th day of the year, the 58th game for the Golden State Warriors. I said Andre Iguodala is either going to have a good game, or at least there's going to be some type of tribute, or there's something big that's going to happen with Andre Iguodala, because Andre Iguodala's name adds up to 58. It was something I mentioned clear back in the NBA Finals last year, even though I didn't even know what 58 was really representative of. The word Freemasonry equals 58. There's been a lot of 58 this year in general, you know, like the 58th Grammys. It was the 58th Daytona 500. And interesting, that actually kind of goes with what I talked about in this post, and I didn't even realize it at the time either. It was the 58th Daytona 500. Denny Hamlin won it. He drives number 11. It's his 11th Daytona 500, and he even started in 11th place, and then he won. And in this post, I even mentioned the number 11, and that's why I think that the Warriors are actually going to beat the Thunder, even though they were coded to a black history. Anyway, today, like I said, today's the Warriors, or yesterday was the Warriors' 58th game on the 58th day of the year, and it was the Thunder's 59th game of the season. Curry also equals 85, the mirror of 58, so I figured he might have a good game as well. I didn't really write that in there. I talked about the earthquakes, or I just mentioned it, that it was interesting that Golden State is known for the earthquakes, and then on the first day of Lupercalia, we had the 5.1 earthquake in Oklahoma. Anyway, the whole point was the Warriors were going for their 53rd win of the season. If you write out the word 53, it adds up to 122 and also 59. Golden State equals 122. They play in the San Francisco Bay Area that's on 122 degrees west even. Talked a lot about Pope Francis. Pope Francis equals 122. But also the number 59, which was interesting because the Thunder were going for their 59th win, or it was their 59th game, but if they would have won, they would have won their 42nd game. And black people are coded with the numbers 59 and 42. The word nigger equals 42. February, Black History Month, the only month that adds up to 42. February normally ends on the 59th day of the year. Slave equals 59. Negro equals 59. Tobacco equals 59. I mean, just the list goes on. Blues equals 59. Motown came out in the 1959. So it seemed fitting that the Thunder would win and get their 42nd win on their 59th game. Also interesting to point out, this year is a leap year, and so February ends on the 60th day of the year. The word nigger, the big way, equals 60. So the small way, it equals 42. The big way, it equals 60. Anyway, I just talked about a little bit of the history again. The Warriors seem to be coded like they lose a lot with the number 53. I said the Warriors lost their first game this season to the Bucks, and it gave them a record of 24-1. 241 is the 53rd prime number. The Warriors lost to Portland on their 53rd game of the season. I also previously mentioned in a bunch of posts about the number 11 and how 11, there's something significant about it. Lots of teams are winning their 11th and then losing their 12th or whatnot. So that was the main reason that I actually picked Golden State here at the end of this blog. But Oakland equals 31, Curry equals 31. Last year, Andre Iguodala was even 31 years old, and he won the MVP. Just out of nowhere, they put him in, and he supposedly started doing awesome. Whatever. Number 9 guarding number 23. But anyway, the 11th prime number is 31. And the day that they played yesterday was exactly 11 weeks after their first loss. So moral of the story, I talked about, this is one of the main reasons why I didn't think the Warriors would lose last night, because it was 11 weeks. I said if it was 12 weeks, I'd be a little more convinced, blah, 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 blah. But what's interesting too, 11 weeks is also a span of 77 days. And it's just interesting because of this word. When you write it out, it's 5 plus 9 plus 7 plus 7 plus 5 plus 9. That's how you get the 42. So just interesting, it has the 77 in the middle of it. 77, a super important number. You have the American meridian that's on 77 degrees west. That's where you have like the White House and the Pentagon and all that. And like on September 11th, Flight 77 hit the 77-foot tall Pentagon exactly 77 minutes after takeoff. And I mentioned a whole bunch of other stuff in here. 12 weeks after, see, they lost their first game to the Bucks on 12/12 of 2015. So interesting, 12/12, and then you add 12 weeks to it. It takes you to March 5th, which can even be written as 5-3, like the 53, and the Warriors are going for their 53rd win. But the Warriors don't actually play on March 5th, but I just pointed it out because some of the numbers are interesting. It's the year 2016. It's also exactly 2016 hours later. It's also 84 days. Obama, Jesuit, the United States of America, all equal 84. Also 2 months, 22 days. I made a post about Anderson Varejao and how they picked him up on February 22nd, 2/22, the 53rd day of the year. Even if you write out Black history equals 53. I mean, they lost by 32 to the Portland Trailblazers. Trailblazers equals 53. 53 just doesn't seem like a good number for the Warriors. But that 11 was the reason that I picked it. And the game, I'm going to show you in a second here, but the game was all about the number 11. I don't know how many times they mentioned the number 11 and they showed stats about the number 11. Oh yeah, and also when they lost to Portland, it was after an 11-game win streak. Oh, but also one more quick thing I wanted to mention before I show you the game and the 11 stuff. There was some other stuff in the game. Also, Andre Iguodala did get his tribute, his 58 tribute, like I said. I mean, I sat there and waited for it the whole game. I thought, man, is he going to make the game winner or something? And then he ended up making it go to overtime because he got fouled by Kevin Durant, a guy who also in Gematria, with the K exception, his name adds up to 58, just like Andre Iguodala. But what I noticed was that the Warriors, the only games that they have lost were to, I just noticed a bunch of D's, and then I thought about their first one is Milwaukee. M in Pythagorean Gematria, M is 13, so it's 1 plus 3, so M equals 4. Then they lost to Dallas. Dallas begins with a D, 4. Denver begins with a D, 4. Detroit was the next one they lost. That equals 4. And then they lost to Portland, which is P, and P is the 16th letter, which is literally 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4. So it might have made a little bit of sense if they would have lost yesterday too, because O would break down to 6, and then it would have gave them their 6th loss if this was actually being used or whatever. Obviously not, or maybe they're waiting until they play again here on 3-3, the 33. So I guess we'll see. Anyway, right off the bat on this game, the Warriors finished with a total score of 121. The word Warriors in Gematria even equals 121. I mean, a fitting number for them to score. Interesting, now their record is 53-5. The Mirrors 53-35. Also, Steph Curry hit the game-winning three-pointer, the 32-footer. They made that a big deal in all the articles that it was a 32-foot three-pointer, which is interesting because the 30-second prime number is 131. I mentioned this previously. It's 131, just like the word Super Bowl, just like the word championship. It's also the mirrors of 13 and 31, and Oakland is connected to the 31. And if you go back and watch or read through some of these previous posts or watch my previous videos on this, I mentioned the number 32 a little bit more. The Warriors got blown out by Portland by 32. Andre Iguodala is 32 years old this year. And I said that 31 was an important number last year, but I said there was a lot of good connections with 32 this year, so it's seeming that way. Another big thing that they did during this game was they brought up how Steph Curry was tired of all the old retired basketball players saying that he's not good or their team isn't as good as the old teams and whatnot. And they even had a little interview during the game where you listened to Oscar Robertson, and he was saying that like people would guard Curry and Curry wouldn't be able to make all them baskets in his era, blah blah blah. Well, it's funny because yesterday's date numerology adds up to 65, just like Oscar Robertson. So no doubt that's why they put that in there. The word Philadelphia also equals 65. I mentioned just so much with Philadelphia. The Warriors even used to be from Philadelphia, so just throwing that out there real quick. He also was a former Milwaukee Buck, so interesting that was the first team that beat the Warriors this year as well. So anyway, right before the game even starts, they're Jalen Rose and whatever, they're all talking, and then this girl goes, the game starts in 11 minutes? I'll just show you the clip real quick. And then they go into the whole Oscar Robertson thing. I mean, just ridiculous. The game starts in 11 minutes. Then, when the score is 2-8, so the score adds up to 10, the clock's even stopped at 10:10, and the announcers tell you about how the Warriors are doing terrible when they play in Chesapeake Arena, where the Thunder play. They say they're 1-11 out of the last 12 times they've played there. I mean, how ridiculous is that? Curry wins the game on his 12th three-pointer. Also, 10 points with 10:10 left. The word 10 in Gematria equals 12. But anyway, I'll let you listen here. Also, in numerology, you don't use the zeros. You take out the zeros. So 10-10 would actually be a 1 and a 1, like an 11. And then right after that, they bring up the little stat, OKC 11-1, record at home versus Golden State. 11-1, so they show you the 11-1. Also, OKC and Pythagorean Gematria, O is the sixth letter, O would add up, reduces down to 6, K reduces down to 2, so 6 plus 2 is 8, C is 3, 8 plus 3, 11. OKC equals 11, 11-1 record at home. And literally ask yourself this, why in the world would they put a stat up like that? The last 12 games, why wouldn't they do the last 15 even? Why would they do 12? It doesn't make any sense. It's because they're coding these games. Or why don't they do the last 10? Why 12? It doesn't make any sense that it would be the last 12 games. Alright, well I'm running out of time. I'm just going to make a part 2. There's a whole lot more. A ton of these 11 and 12 codings in this game and whatnot. So, see you in part 2.